Start with just kind of a practical logistical question. When your job is life insurance and part of that is knowing the current health status of the people you're about to insure, given the demands that were on the healthcare system and trying to preserve capacity, how were you able to do that?
Yeah, it's really helpful that we had made some significant investments in digital technology over the last number of years. And so that has made a huge difference to be able to underwrite life insurance. So, for example, we built a model to do underwriting, an artificial intelligence-driven model that in many cases eliminates the need for lab work. As you noted, medical labs were shut down, have been shut down. They're starting to reopen, but I think something like 85% of our insurance applications in Canada over the last 3 months have gone through without the need for medical labs. And that's a win-win. It's easier for the clients, easier for the advisors, easier for the companies. So the use of technology, use of data, to predictive models to try to get to better underwriting decisions without all that data, I think has helped. The other thing is that creating technology that allows non-face-to-face interaction between a Sun Life advisor and the client, which we've rolled out across Asia, we've had it in Canada for a while, has made a huge difference in the ability to consult with a client virtually through FaceTime or Zoom or whatever. We use Zoom, and to be able to do e-signatures and everything else. So it's quite remarkable how technology and the investments we made in technology have really helped.
And yet, we talked about, sales kind of down in all the markets for those insurance products. Do you have a sense of how much of that was, logistics, just closures, your sales force wasn't able to get out there the way they used to be versus, people's intentions, purchasing intentions being ratcheted back because, economies were frozen, jobs were lost, things like that?
What's interesting is actual purchase intentions went up. And we saw this after SARS. We actually saw it after World War II. We saw it after the Spanish flu, that people kind of face-to-face with mortality have, in many cases, are saying, wait a minute, I better think about my life insurance or my health insurance. So demand has actually gone up. And what's been challenging is the ability of advisors to deal with clients face-to-face. Now, insurance sales were down, but they were only down 6% over the prior year, which I think is not bad considering, in most countries in Southeast Asia, our advisors were completely locked down, same here in Canada. And there's a bit of a learning curve as we rolled out these new technologies, and we're asking, we've got about 100,000 advisors around the world. We're asking them to learn how to use them, how to have a good client meeting face-to-face. There's a bit of a learning curve. So, I think there's a lesson here, by the way, for post-COVID thinking around, we can come back to that if you want, but about the productivity opportunity in a post-COVID world. If you don't have to drive 2 hours across Jakarta or Manila or Mumbai, and if you've been to any of those cities, you know how bad the traffic is, and you can instead have a face-to-face consult with your client, there's an opportunity for a step change in productivity that we're quite excited about.
Well, I do want to ask you about that, but particularly as it relates to real estate, because Sun Life, you're a diverse business, you do life insurance, but you also have, substantial interests in things like equities, bonds, but also real estate. And because we have seen such a shift in how people work, working from home, not in their offices, has that changed materially how you view your own real estate portfolio? Are you worried about some of those office buildings and their long-term value?
We're not worried. I think the way we're thinking about it, Amber, is that, first of all, most of the real estate we've invested in, we've got about $7 billion in our own general account backing our liabilities. And then we manage on behalf of third-party clients like pension funds, another 25, 30 billion or so of direct real estate equity. And a lot of that is invested in multiple sectors. So industrial, multi-unit residential, like apartment buildings, commercial and retail. And we've been reducing the amount of retail over the last number of years and increasing industrial and multi-unit res. So that sort of balanced portfolio helps. But specific to commercial real estate, here's my view on this, that I think there will be more days work from home in the future, because I think we realize we can do it. We've got the technology, the capability, we can do it. But it won't be a wholesale switch in many companies to having everybody working from home. There will be more days work from home than there are today. I think physically, this notion of pushing people together and having more density will widen back out a little bit. We need more room for people, even post-COVID. And I think the net of that could be a reduction in demand for commercial real estate. But then you think about supply. And that reduction in demand, because leases have, 5+ year tenors, that reduction in demand will come down slowly over time, and then the capacity, the supply will adjust to fit. So I think, when you think about how do you learn in a company, how do you develop, how do you get mentored, how do you come up with new ideas, how do you, I think a lot of that does happen in the workplace, and I think there will be more days work from home. I think there's a productivity opportunity if you don't have to commute as much. But this is the big question post-COVID. What is the workforce and the workplace of the future? And we're spending a lot of time thinking about that at Sun Life. I think there's a point here somewhere.
Well, do you have any answers to that for your own workforce? What have you told your workforce about where they need to be?
Well, we split that into this period we're in now, this sort of COVID limbo, and then post-COVID, which I think the post-COVID thing is actually the more interesting and the bigger question. But right now we're in this limbo where we have very few people at work. We were able to get most of the company, including all our trading desks and call centers, stood up from home, the week of middle March there when we all went off, and that's worked extremely well. So we're going to be in this kind of phase, at least in North America, where we're working from home for a while longer. In Asia, we're back in China and Vietnam. We were back in Hong Kong, although, there's been a relapse, unfortunately, in Hong Kong, and now everybody's back working from home there. So a bit of a stop-start. So I think it'll be a number of months. It's really ultimately until we find a vaccine or a life-saving therapy that we can get into that next phase. And as I said, I think that next phase around the future of work and where it's done, I think there's a big productivity improvement potential, and I think it'll be important to work on that and to solve for that.